So, before we get started, well, I guess not. We already did get started because I hit record. So, Todd Burkhead, he's a weekly listener.
Oh.
Every week on the way to work.
Shout out.
And he hit me up. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong with Todd Burkhead. Well, there's many things wrong with Todd Burkhead because he's a sinner saved by grace, but he'll appreciate that comment. But he asked for some prayer. And so I think, Tim, you should give him a shout-out and let him know we're thinking about him. And we're going to pray for him in staff meeting today.
We're going to be praying for Todd today? That's awesome.
Praying for Todd
today.
Todd,
shout out to you. We are going to be praying for you today. Thank you for listening, being a faithful listener. And all of you that have been listening, we appreciate you so much. We're all about prayer. And I think the power of prayer is so important in the life of a Christian. Nick and I, we both have seen the power of prayer in our lives, not only for our families, but for, our lives in general and our future. And so, Todd, shout out to you today. Just know that today at our staff meeting, we'll be lifting you up in prayer. And again, thanks for listening.
And remember to use your turn signal and check your blind spots as you're listening right now, because
you never know.
People always be driving crazy.
That's right. Hey, this is Tim Homa, and I'm with my co-host, Nick Kerouac, and you are listening to the 61st Minute, a podcast of Community Bible. Thanks for listening, and we're excited about today. Today is kind of a little offshoot, but fun, but yet deep. I think there's some good things here.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things we talk about.
Good stories. Definitely good stories.
There's heavy things we talk about, too, and that's okay. Before we jump into it, one thing no one ever discusses when it comes to Thanksgiving, and this is specifically Thanksgiving. Everyone talks about the food. Everyone talks about the family. Everyone talks. When you close your eyes and you picture the perfect Thanksgiving, what's the weather like outside?
Cloud? Dude, that is a great question. Cloudy, cool, misty.
No way.
Yeah, no sun.
Same
no,
thing.
No sun. I hate the sun shining on Thanksgiving. It's got to look fall. It's got to look dreary. I love dreary Thanksgiving. I just think that's awesome.
I just want everyone to know we didn't talk about this. I just blindsided you with that question.
Yeah, you did.
Just then. And we are 100% on the same page.
Because that was my Thanksgivings growing up. Yours?
Every Thanksgiving. I'm sure there was plenty of sunny Thanksgivings, right. But the ones we remember outside playing football with the cousins,
Yep.
It's misty and gross and
those
cold.
are the best days.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely.
That's perfect.
That's a great question.
Hey, so any of our listeners, a couple things that I think we could have some fun with. So I'm on Facebook, Nick Kerouac. You could also get on Community Church, Community Bible East's Facebook page. Every Wednesday before we release the podcast, we'll put a post out about it. Maybe we'll make our own specific post. We want to hear some of your holiday traditions. What are some things that are a little different? What do you eat on Thanksgiving if it's not turkey or ham? Is there something else that you put out there that you eat? What are some random traditions that you and your family do?
And some of you listening down in Texas or across the states that know me, know I'm also on Facebook at Tim Homa, and so you can do the same thing. We'd love to hear. And we'll share some of those.
Yeah, so don't drop names if you want to talk about dysfunction, because we talk a little bit about that today. But if you want to share any type of story like that, send it our way. You can message us, put it on Facebook. We'd love to, just over these next few weeks of the holiday season, we might share some of our favorites on the podcast, which could be fun.
And last thing before we dive into it today, white meat or dark meat?
Ooh, it depends on how the turkey's cooked. You ever get that answer?
No, but lately, my goal is to make the best white meat. I'm a dark meat guy, but if I can get moist white meat out of my bird and I don't overcook it, that's a bonus. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we talk about a little bit later why ham on Thanksgiving. If the turkey tastes like a desert, I will eat way more ham. Because sometimes it's hard to mess up a ham.
That's right. Well, here we go. Here's today.
All right, enjoy.
We are so glad that you're listening to our podcast, but before we continue, we have an announcement to make. On November 3rd, we rolled out our new Live Beyond campaign. encouraging us to live beyond our own capacity in generosity, as well as God's mission for us and our church. In this Live Beyond campaign, we're making some concerted efforts to reach those in our community and make some much-needed upgrades to our East Campus. We've asked all of our staff, our members, and regular attenders to pray, plan, and make a pledge for what they can contribute to this vision. You're not going to want to miss December 15th because that's going to be a big celebration service where we will bring all of our pledges and one-time gifts that morning to Community Bible. For more information on this event, go to communitychurch.com/livebeyond. Again, that is communitychurch.com/livebeyond.
Masks.
Oh, that covers it all too, doesn't it? Masks. Basks. Casks.
Ooh,
there you go.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. There we go.
You like how I called you last night and said, "Hey, what do you want to talk about tomorrow?" I was literally trying to think.
I was thinking too. I was like, okay, we can talk about food. We got to have some fun. We've been pretty serious. So, coming out of the Supernatural series, it was pretty serious, pretty deep. A lot of people wanted to hear that, but I think sometimes it's nice to talk about things that we all deal with, like eating. It's food time. It's the holidays. I love this, Nick. I love this season. I love the smells. I love the feel in the air. I love the food. I just love thinking about the different styles of food. And not good for if you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you, this is my favorite time. And that's why I think Dinner with Jesus is a great series for Thanksgiving month.
So let's throw our people a bone who are like, "Hey, you can't decorate for Christmas yet because..."
Chicken or turkey bone?
Turkey bone, probably.
Okay, let's go with the turkey bone.
Because I do get it. I mean, you don't want to miss out on Thanksgiving. There's a lot of good Thanksgiving memories that we've grown as a family. But what's the Homa Thanksgiving look like usually?
The Homa Thanksgiving happens the night before.
Really?
I do. Yep, I do the majority of the baking and putting together the dishes. So Angie and I tag team. So I can't. Angie, my wife, I got to give her full credit. She reads the recipe. I put it together. So it's a tag team effort. And it's funny because every year we get in this argument because she'll start to do stuff. I go, "No, you read the recipe. I do the prep work." And she'll always start to do things because she likes to process it in her mind, but then she has to do it and she can't tell me to do it. I'm like, "Just tell me what you need done." So I make, the night before, we make a couple pies. I make them from scratch. I love
what kind of pies?
We do a peach cream pie. We do and then every year is some type of pumpkin pie, maybe a pumpkin cream cheesecake, and maybe a pecan pie. But typically this year will be an off year because of just not being in our house yet. But we will bake everything from scratch. I put together the cranberry salsa. I put together all the dishes, the sweet potatoes, and then I have a special brine rub that we do for the turkey. So I do all that.
How do you cook the turkey?
We do it's a brine. We have brine it first, and then I have a rub that I put on it, and then we will put it in the oven.
Roast it?
Typically. Yeah. We've smoked a couple before. It's a long process.
Yeah.
It's a long process. And if you get a day where it rains or it's just nasty out, it's just not fun. So we just, typical roasting. And then Thanksgiving Day, we are 9:00 on TV watching it. We're all surrounding the TV watching the Macy's Day Parade. Yeah. We've done that since the girls were born. We watch it all. We're in pajamas. We're drinking coffee and having breakfast, and we're watching the parade. And then football starts at 11:30ish. We let the first part of it go until the end of the parade. We all see Santa. We're in, and then it's just getting ready. We do a lot of finger foods until dinner. My mom will be here from Arizona. Angie's mom will come over, so we'll have a house full. My daughters will be here. They'll be getting in town a couple days before that. So it'll be very traditional, just in a different location.
Did you guys usually do like aunts, uncles, cousins? Well, the girls' aunts, uncles, cousins, and stuff traditionally, or
no,
was it
because
usually
they're
always
in
just
Chicago.
young?
No,
Yeah.
because they were in Chicago and we were in Las Vegas, and then we were in Michigan, so we were never close to home for the holidays. Christmas, there was always a chance that we could go into Chicago, or people from Chicago would come visit us. But for the better part of the girls' growing up years, it was just us.
Yeah.
And then we would do stuff with the neighbors on Christmas night or Thanksgiving night. But a lot of game playing. We play a lot of games, cards and board games, and then everybody finally is all in for Christmas. My youngest and I have been in for Christmas since November 1st. Now everybody else joined us.
That's awesome.
All right, what about you?
We do. So it all kind of changed 3 years ago when we had Jones. But traditionally, as I was a kid, we would drive up to Illinois every Thanksgiving and also every Christmas. And we would, I guess every now and again, we would celebrate Thanksgiving back home. But most of the time, we would drive up to Illinois, especially when my grandma was still alive. Then Allison and I got married, and we tried to do the rotations, Thanksgiving rotations, Christmas rotations, Easter rotations. And then when Jones came around, one of the things that I loved as a kid was the holidays were consistent every year when I was a kid. So whether it would be Christmas Eve with my mom's side, Christmas Day with my dad's side, and then Thanksgiving, we would kind of rotate the same thing. We wouldn't rotate, sorry. We would keep the, hey, day before or day after is this side of the family, but every year was the same. And Allison and I, we both experienced that as kids, and we really wanted to give Jones that. So when Jones was born, we traveled to South Haven, Mississippi, and we go and have Thanksgiving with my sister and her family. And really, it's only been 2 years. But we've done it before, and man, it's my sister. She gets after it. She does all the cooking. Her and her husband Jack is my brother-in-law, and he's wonderful. He's actually really good with the smokers. So I think we had smoked turkey last year. So yeah, we do that same thing. Watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. If we didn't have it on TV, we would download Peacock and pay for the subscription just for the parade, and then cancel it right afterwards. But yeah, Thanksgiving's always a good one, and for me, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's all one big holiday celebration for me.
It is.
I see Christmas and Thanksgiving as married together, and
amen to that. I'm the same way. I mean, it's the season. It's from now until New Year's Day. It's just flat out seasonal. I can't wait to start seeing lights. We're living in a new state, so it's going to be new experiences, new traditions that we're starting. My mom coming out for Thanksgiving, that's going to be a great start to a new tradition. And we think in the better part of a couple of years, she may be living here. The girls, they're grown up and they experience. So, Angie was an only child. So we didn't have and because of the fact that all my family was in Chicago and we were living in Las Vegas when Angie and I first met and were dating and having the girls, we just did Christmas there because working at the church, you were all the way to Christmas Eve. So we had 10 performances every year at our church in Vegas.
wow.
And I was in them. And so 10 performances, thousands of people come in to see these Christmas performances. It was a big deal. We had Frank Sinatra's band play for us for Christmas because they were off during the holidays, but they needed extra income. They'd come and play at our church. So it was crazy. And so I just couldn't leave on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So we had just created the new tradition, and we'd go back or whenever we could to go see family. But I heard this the other day, Nick. I thought this was pretty incredible. A pastor said, when my kids get married, we're not expecting them to come over for the holidays. And I was kind of like, wow. He goes, they're starting their own traditions with their own families. If they want, we're still going to have Christmas. If they want to come, we'd love for them to come. But I'm not going to expect my daughters to come do Thanksgiving and do Christmas if they have their own families and they're doing their own thing. I mean, we'll have it. We'd love to have them. We'll figure something out. But in all reality, they're a family now. They're going to create their own traditions, and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's
You talked a little bit about it yesterday as you kicked off Dinner with Jesus. The line that you said, which stuck with me, was at near the beginning of your sermon. Oftentimes when we are looking ahead to the holidays, we have those people that, are hard to, we don't see eye to eye with, is the way you put it. And we're going to sit down with them at a Thanksgiving table. And you used it to roll into showing people mercy. But one thing I thought we could do today is really highlight some of the fun and family dysfunction when it comes to
family fun and dysfunction.
Family dysfunction. Fun. Anyway,
family puts the fun into dysfunction.
That's right. So, and it's interesting because as you were talking about, it's usually just you, Angie, the girls, maybe mom or moms might join you. Sometimes it feels like, hey, is there less drama whenever you kind of narrow it down to just the what am I thinking? Not extended family. What am I thinking? Immediate family.
Yeah.
Because man, when you start trying to mix in every personality and everyone's ideas and thoughts of how a holiday should be, it can get pretty messy. It can get real messy. I have a story I want to tell. Just man, this does put the fun in dysfunction. This was from when we were a kid. It was actually a Christmas. We were celebrating Christmas, and we had family over, and for the sake, in case of some of them listening, I won't use any names, but man, I remember this Christmas, we got these things called sock 'em boppers. Do you remember those?
Oh, absolutely.
Where they were inflatable boxing gloves, and my brother and I both got them, and we were just like so hyped to go beat each other up with them. And it was interesting because when I was a kid, whenever we would have a get-together with this side of the family, there came a point where all the kids would be sent upstairs or sent into the other room to play. I thought it was a totally normal thing. Every family must do that. And we would go in the other room and start playing while the parents started, like, screaming at each other because there always became some kind of drama. And I remember this particular Christmas. Me and my cousins are upstairs, and we're fighting, with the sock and boppers and just having a good old time. And I just remember my aunts and uncles that there was just some kind of knockout, drag out downstairs. And come to find out, as I grew up, I asked my mom and my dad, hey, what was that about? And it was about some of the aunts and uncles were fighting over who gets what out of grandma's will at Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, as an adult, I'm like, that's some fun in the dysfunction. Do you have any good stories about stuff like that?
I really don't, because I don't know if we were sheltered, but we did the same thing that you mentioned earlier, Nick. When I was growing up, Christmas Eve was with my dad's side of the family. Christmas Day was with my mom's side of the family. We couldn't wait to see our cousins. We couldn't wait to see Santa, who came on the Christmas Eve on my dad's side. Santa would always show up, and my cousins and I, we all got along so well, and so we just looked forward to that. But I think if I look back, I think there was this underlining kind of expectation. We want Christmas to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So was it real? I don't know. Was it fake? I don't know. But I think that's the pressure a lot of times for people around the holidays, is that there's somebody coming in the family that doesn't agree with you and something, and you're trying so hard to make Christmas or Thanksgiving the perfect experience, and you want it to be flawless. You want the food to be perfect. You want the laughter to be perfect. You want the stories. You want because all you have is these 60 days from November 1st till the end of December. And you want the holiday seasons to be filled with good memories, because one bad memory can taint all the other good memories. And I think there's this built up expectation. So that increases the level of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
So when the families get together, you're always on edge. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
Yeah.
And then when it gets brought up, it's like chaos. But we never experienced chaos as a kid growing up. And I don't know if we were sheltered from it. Like you weren't, I guess you were sheltered. Like,
Oh, they
"You
sent
guys
us
go
upstairs. Yeah.
But I don't remember ever walking into or experiencing something that was a blowout in my family. And I don't know why, why it worked or why it didn't work. It was just the way it was. Life was different when my parents got divorced, and that became a whole new set of circumstances. The one story I can tell you, when my mom and dad got divorced and we started going with my dad to his wife's family for Christmas, there was an aunt. Her name was Auntie Sill, and she was the aunt for everybody there, older lady, and she was a Rockefeller.
No way.
Married to a
Like
Rockefeller.
the Rockefeller
like,
tree in
yes,
New
like
York
big
City?
time, like married
Wow.
into that family. And so you would think good gifts coming. Well, my brother and I were the newbies in the family with the divorce and the new marriage. Every year, pair of socks.
Were they plated in gold? Do they have gold flakes in the socks?
It was a big box.
Yeah.
My brother got a pair of socks. I got a pair of socks. I'd get home, my mom go, pair of socks? Pair of socks, Mom. Look at that. It was crazy. Same thing. Every year we got a pair of socks.
Were they at least soft? Were they nice socks?
Bro, they were white. That's all I can tell you. They were
She
white.
bought the Hanes and
I'm like,
the
there you
value
go.
pack gave your brother one, you the other one.
Every year I'm like, seriously? Pair of socks? And I think
pair
at
of
one point
socks.
my dad started to be apologetic about it. He's like, I'm really sorry. you
Yeah,
know? But
that's funny.
Yeah.
So we did I have another story for you. This one's pretty fun. So I told you about my brother-in-law, Jack. Dude is a saint. Like, he's been so good in our family, and I just love him. He just is newly married to my sister, and this is around Thanksgiving because it's cold, and we're going to my aunt's house, and my aunt lives out on a farm out south of Chicago, and it's kind of misty and rainy, maybe a little icy, and we're having chili that this get together. Good chili, big old pot of chili on the stove, and we get sent into the other room. We're all playing upstairs, and I think my mom or my dad or maybe some of my family who didn't get all hyped up, they could see it coming, so that's when they would cue the kids. I happen to need something, so I go downstairs, and my brother-in-law Jack, brand new to the family, just got married into it. His truck is parked right outside in the driveway closest to the house. And my cousin and her stepdad, my uncle, start getting into it, like screaming at each other. And my cousin's so mad that my uncle walks out the front door and she grabs the pot of chili off the stove. And I guess it's cool because she didn't burn her hand. And she steps out on the porch and she launches that thing. And she's my adult cousin. And she launches that pot of chili. And my uncle does the dodge move. And this pot of chili just slams into my brother-in-law, who's the saint. His truck just covers it. And not only that, it's so cold in Illinois this day that before they can clean it up, the chili freezes to his windshield. And so he's out there, and he's just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, he's just smirking, like, I can't believe this is happening to me. So he's having to scrape this frozen chili off of his windshield.
Yeah,
Anyway, I know things aren't as dramatic as that for everyone.
I don't
Because
have
the other
those.
family, my other side of the family, if there was ever any issues there, it was one of those, hey, don't talk about it. Let's keep the peace here as
Right.
best we can and try to have, just like you said. But I've also experienced too, man, like the holidays, it can put so much pressure because as you were saying, I've also seen the other side where it's, hey, if there's issues, let's build this kind of perfect expectation around the holidays that it almost has put so much pressure on families to make sure everything's perfect that the striving to be perfect almost ruins the holiday for you.
You think about this, Nick. There are going to be people who their memory of the holidays is a loss of a loved one, a marriage that's failed, some traumatic moment. And so you go into that season with that in your memory banks, and you're like, I want just a season. I want a holiday season of peace because I don't want to reflect back to that painful memory. That painful memory, so many people are going to go into this holiday season dealing with depression, sadness, regret, remorse, grief. And, we want to build this whole season up to be this great time. And yet for other people, it triggers memories like that. So what do we do? And how do we get through a season where a negative memory can overwhelm a positive experience? How do we get through that negative experience? And I really think it's a reflection of who God is in our life and who he has provided for us. We don't get to choose our family. We don't. In all reality, you don't get to choose your family. Your mom and dad is who they are, and your siblings are who they are. And so if you know that you can't choose your family, that's who God has given to you. You can look at them, and it's cliche as at times, but it's true. They are the image of God. And we're to look at everyone as though they're the image bearer of God. And so if that's the case, how do we go into this season with that in mind? We say, God, I just want to be a person of peace. I want to be a person that reflects your love, your forgiveness, your grace, your humility, your patience. I mean, it's the fruit of the Spirit, man. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, joyfulness. I mean, it's all of that. And I just think if we can go into it moment by moment, not having such high expectations, I think we could really learn how to just enjoy the moment without reflecting or expecting. I don't know.
You talked about mercy yesterday, and give me your definition of mercy, how you defined it in your sermon.
It's showing compassion to someone who's either done something to hurt you or has done something against you. And it's more than just forgiving. It's showing kindness and empathy and compassion. And compassion is basically you are joining them in their pain and their sorrow. You're saying, I have compassion for you, even though you don't deserve it. You hurt me, but I'm going to show you mercy. I'm going to show you something that you don't deserve.
So there's two kinds of camps, I feel like, when we come into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. There's the camp that, you know what, I'm going to set up my firm boundary walls and I'm going to do what me and my house need to do so that we can have peace through these holidays and we can enjoy it to the best we can. And then there's the other camp that is like, it doesn't matter how toxic it gets at grandma's house, we're going because that's what we do. And there almost seems to be this pendulum swing that it's like, man, where is the right answer? Because even what you talked about yesterday, like a lot of times, you know, you might be the first Christian in your house, right? And your aunts and uncles who don't know Jesus, the holidays gives you a great opportunity to have them at a table with you, where you can be hospitable, where you can be kind, where you can be compassionate and merciful. But then there's other times where it's like, man, maybe it is the right time to say, hey, this is what my family and I are going to do, and that's what we're going to do. And, you know, even, man, friends of mine, golly. And you're right, there is so much pain around the holidays. I know a friend of mine who it's a father and a son. And the son's grown up and has a family. And his dad will not talk to him to this day because he missed a Christmas 2 years ago. And it's just like, man, there's almost this sense of entitlement that comes around the holidays and stuff like that. And the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves. And, you know, I guess I'm not asking, hey, Tim, where's the line at? But it's just, you almost have to pray and figure that out for yourself because at the same time, you almost want to be like, in the middle of, say, hypothetically, this situation, you want to tell the son, well, if he's going to be that petty, then y'all keep doing what you want to for Thanksgiving. But then at the same time, all right, when do you have mercy that, dad's acting this way for a specific reason? I'm going to step out and try to make this an opportunity for me to be compassionate, be merciful, be forgiving. I don't know the answer.
That's a great thought, Nick, because I still think that we live in a world that wants the perfect holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have the perfect holiday, it's a failure. And so we ramp up the expectation, the pressure. We ramp up the just the desires in our life. And if anything goes wrong, if someone says, I'm not coming to your house, it's a failure. It's over. You're never coming back. We had the perfect day set for you. I mean, think about it that way. We get to the point, we get so worked up because this is the holiday season. We all love it because we flash back in time to the days of old and what Christmas was and what Thanksgiving was and what the holidays were. And so we want that same experience, but every day is different. Every holiday is different. Every year is different. And to put the pressure on us, we've just got to be really careful. I know family members who are just like, well, if we don't do it this way, then it breaks tradition and it's wrong, and then we're disappointed. Well, we only got this day. We only get this day as a gift from God. So all we have is today. And so why not show mercy? Why not say, okay, it wasn't what we expected. It wasn't what we've done in the past, but you know what? We were together. Because that's the important thing, is that we're together as a family. We get to celebrate it together. We get to live it out together and do life together as a family, and we got to be thankful.
I almost wonder if we want the Thanksgiving and we want the Christmas that we had as kids.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
But you know what it was? You know what the Christmas was as kids? We were in the other room while they were blowing up.
Yeah.
So the reality is, I think just as we grow up, we have to realize, man, there's more complicated things in life than when, did we get socks for Christmas?
Right.
know?
I remember when I moved to Las Vegas, and I was 23 years old, and I had all these Christmases as a family growing up, and a majority of them were around snow. We always had a white Christmas growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in Las Vegas. You think I'm going to get a white Christmas? I'm decorating outside.
You'll get a tan Christmas.
I was decorating outside in shorts and a T-shirt, going, "This is wrong. There's just something wrong with this." So it is, Nick. It's the expectation of what once was, and we want to capture that same moment and experience it again. But if we do that, we miss the opportunity to capture something new.
Mm-hmm.
A new opportunity to build a relationship, a new opportunity to express love and mercy and forgiveness and just the whole experience of family. And every moment is a new memory. But if we want to reflect back to doing it the same way all the time, one time, if we want to do the same thing over and over and over, the one time that it doesn't go that way, we're all going to think it's a failure.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and I think it just brings us right back to being merciful, right?
Mm-hmm. Showing compassion, kindness, empathy.
Specifically when we mature as Christians, we have to look at every opportunity that God places in front of us as a mission field, including the holidays. Even though sometimes we want to selfishly be like, oh, I'm going to make this me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make this what I want to make it. Capitalize on opportunities, but do it in a way that, okay, it isn't going to ruin your family. It isn't going to be a toxic thing that causes trauma to your kids because,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, let's bring Aunt and Betty and Uncle John back to, even though they scream at us and we have to put the kids in the other room. Okay, maybe we put up some boundaries there, but,
right.
But then at the same time, we live in a culture, and I've heard it so much of, I'm going to start making decisions based on myself. And I get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get where our culture's getting the idea of okay, you have to, you sometimes got to put yourself first and make sure your mental health is in the right spot and stuff like that. But I feel like it's pushed so far in the other direction that now it's almost come to the point where it's like completely anti-biblical of going, I'm going to do everything I can just to make myself happy and not capitalize on opportunities to really be missional, to be, you know what? I think it was John Mark Comer talks about hospitality in one of his books. Maybe I'll put it in the link once I figure out which one it is. But he talks about biblical hospitality, which fits right in with Thanksgiving, of inviting people in to not just your life, not just church and things like that, but into your home and into your life where maybe there's some dishes in the sink and maybe the hamper's still full of laundry, and you bring them in and you literally just love them. You treat them like they're your family.
You know what?
What an opportunity for with the holidays coming up. You know
why I think that is? And I look back at my Thanksgivings in my life. Some of the greatest Thanksgivings I had, not only as a kid growing up, but as a married adult, was when we invited somebody to join us for Thanksgiving that would not have been part of our family. And when we were in Las Vegas, there were people on our staff that were what we would call strays, and they couldn't go home for the holidays. So we, of course, invited them to be a part of it. And I think people love to do that because they want those people to experience the love of that family. I loved doing that when I was on staff in Las Vegas at a church, because I always thought our Thanksgivings were amazing. They were fun, and we were playing cards. And I always wanted people to see the love that my wife and I had for our daughters and for our in-laws and my in-laws and family. And I think that's the case. I think that is so true, Nick, is that Thanksgiving really matters when we become missional, when we're thinking about the people out there that we want to invite to be a part of our family, because we have something we don't want to keep to ourselves. I love having people over on the holidays because they for some reason are not able to go to their family. So they're going to be a part of my family for that day. We're going to shower them with food and with just love and games and laughter, and that hopefully they'll walk away going, man, Homa at Thanksgiving at the Homa house was amazing. That was great. Or, man, being a part of the holidays at the Homa house, and they do it right, because we think we do, and we want people to experience that.
For sure. For sure. We were talking about tradition a little bit ago, and we were discussing this at our med school group called Goodco that we have meeting out at the med school, and we were discussing tradition based more in like the church context. One of the things we discussed was tradition for the sake of preservation of worshiping God glorifies God, but tradition for the sake of preserving just tradition glorifies ourselves. I think oftentimes we have to be careful with the holidays as well. We will let tradition, just because this is what we've always done, get in the way of loving the people that we're closest to. You're going to break tradition, and then it starts this whole dramatic spiral.
That is so true.
Where it's like, you literally had your Christmas or your Thanksgiving was ruined because you had drama or some beef with one of your own family members over if you had turkey or ham, or if you had it at mom's house, or you had to do it on Thanksgiving or a different day than Thanksgiving. And I think we as believers specifically just have to come to the point where we go, it's a day.
Oh, wait a minute. You smoke the turkey? We don't smoke the turkey.
Can you believe that?
We roast a turkey here.
We actually have the turkey smoke before we cook it, like cigarettes. I thought that's what you meant.
But you think about it. Oh, wait, we're not having sweet potatoes? You're breaking tradition. That's how far we'll go.
It absolutely will.
If you don't have the same food at the meal, you're breaking tradition, which then becomes, it really is about a focus of, are you worshiping yourself or worshiping God? And it becomes a worship of self.
There was I'm going to butcher it. It's a story, but it's this family that every Christmas or every Thanksgiving, every holiday, the mom would cook the ham, and before she put it in the oven, she would cut it in half, and then she'd put it in the oven, and man, it just made the ham better. And everyone's like, I can't really and the whole family started believing, I don't know why we cut it in half, but you just have to cut the ham in half, and then you got to bake it, and then once you're done, it just makes it better. That's our family tradition. That's what we do. And so one of the family members decides, I'm going to look back and figure out, when cutting the ham in half started and why we do that. And they go back into the old family recipe book and go back 4 generations to figure out why they cut the ham in half. And Grandma Gigi Mama back 100 years ago cut the ham in half. And you know why? Because the oven was too small to fit the whole thing in there.
But made it taste great.
But it made, And so you have, even though the ham can fit in the oven now, and it's so funny because it's like a tradition that started in the family had such a practical reason for the ham to be cut in half, where at the end of the day, you don't have to cut the ham in half anymore. Nope. Like the oven's big enough. And I just
Guess what? It's going to taste the same.
Yeah, it's just a funny illustration of how easy it is for us to fall into just worshiping these traditions as opposed to, we had to figure out with my family, last year we did Christmas, Kerouac Christmas with my dad and my other siblings on New Year's Eve. And that was okay. Yeah. We were all still together. Yeah. Honestly, it was fun because we still got to do New Year's Eve together. Yeah. It was a little different, but just starting a new tradition. But for the sake of people.
Yeah, I think about what my life's going to be like one day when I'm a grandfather. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited about the increase of family members coming. Like, having a son-in-law or another son-in-law, having 2 son-in-laws and having kids. And I think that changes a lot of how you look at traditions, but it excites me because it's involving new people into older traditions. But I think you're right. I think tradition for tradition's sake can also take away our thoughts on who God is. But tradition, because of who God is in our life, is bringing glory and honor to Him through our circumstances. So.
You talked about Matthew yesterday.
Yep.
And we're talking about, some of our people who are listening might be thinking, okay, how am I going to approach these holidays? There's toxicity, there's drama, it's always an issue. And it makes me think, between Jesus and his 12 disciples, he called Matthew, the tax collector. And he also called a man named Simon the Zealot, who, outside of Christ, Simon would probably have killed Matthew. Mm-hmm. I talked about it. This was a while back in a sermon, and I heard it from another guy while we were in Atlanta for Orange Conference. There was a specific sect of the Zealots in the time of Jesus called the Sicarii, and they would take a blood pact that any Roman or Roman sympathizer in their presence, before the sun goes down, they're going to kill him. So do we know if Simon the Zealot was one of them? We don't know.
We don't.
But he could have been. But there came a point where maybe they were all sitting at a table, like the Thanksgiving table. And as they're discussing who each other were, Simon introduces himself, and everyone's like, oh man, this guy's the real deal. And then Matthew gets to the point where he says, I was a tax collector. And in that moment, Simon had to decide. Either I follow Jesus, and I love people that the world says I can't love, or Matthew's dead before the sun goes down. And he had to pick Jesus. Mm-hmm. I think for us, and for any of our listeners who might be coming up to a holiday season where you're like, you know what? I don't want to go see so-and-so because
they could be dead at sundown.
I might kill them at sundown. Very, very good point. But maybe, now I don't want to jump too far because you may have some boundaries that are healthy boundaries that you need to stick to. Mm-hmm. And you're going to do what's good for your family. And I think if that's what you decide, then it's the right decision. But is there an opportunity this holiday season for you to say, you know what, I have some forgiveness that's not taken care of. I've got some mercy that I haven't given. That maybe this is the holiday season that we need to do it. Who's that person? Who's that person that
who's your
you
Matthew?
Can show mercy? Who's your Matthew?
Yeah, who's your Matthew?
Go this week and know that we're thinking and praying for you.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the 61st Minute Podcast by Community Bible. Our goal is to release a new podcast every Wednesday reviewing what we discussed during our hour gathering the previous Sunday morning at Community Bible Church. If you don't have a church home, we would love for you to join us on Sundays at 9 o'clock or 10:30 a.m. live at any of our 4 campuses. Also, you can watch online or review Sunday morning sermon at communitychurch.com/messages. Again, that's communitychurch.com/messages. Tune in for next week's episode of the 61st Minute Podcast by Community Bible on main platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts.